Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 4 of Gotham called Arkham. And as the name implies, this is our introduction to the mythology of Arkham Asylum, one of the most iconic locations in the Batman mythology. Now, obviously, a lot of they're doing with Arkham here is drawn from the recent Batman video games. I think I even saw a screenshot online of the front of the asylum from the show versus the front of the asylum as seen in the first game, and they're basically painstakingly identical. So, and I don't really have a problem with that. Arkham's had a lot of different looks over the years, and those games are very, very popular, so it really makes sense that the show would choose to draw on them. Now, the idea of Arkham as kind of a section of Gotham City is one of those ideas that I'm pretty sure comes from the game that I've never really been that keen on. Generally, Arkham Asylum is sort of portrayed as this really creepy ass place out on the edge of Gotham City where they pack away all the crazies. So the idea of it being kind of in basically Gotham proper and actually a district of the city, it just seems like it's kind of pushing things a little too far away from tradition. But it did end up making for some pretty good video games, so I suppose I can't complain too awful much. So this also kind of continues just basically the big chess match that's going on in the underworld with Fish Mooney, Salvador Maroni, and Carmine Falcone. Each Falcone trying to stay on top, and Maroni and Fish trying to pull him down. And then meanwhile, amidst all of that, Penguin is slowly orchestrating his rise to the top. And this is, again, really just continues to show us that Penguin has, since he crawled up out of that river, he's learned an awful lot. It's sort of like everything that he would have picked up from observing Fish Mooney and being around her for all those years, until he almost died, none of that really sank in. I mean, before, Cobblepot has like this very idiot plan to orchestrate his rise that Fish sees through with just the slightest, tiniest clue. Here, Penguin is still alive and has managed to worm himself into a position of respect, if not authority, in the let's say let's just go with family of the guy who's basically the number one person on the block to probably take over Gotham if Falcone falls. And again, this episode is just another little bit more of Penguin working himself up the ladder. He goes from dishwasher to manager of Maroni's restaurant, and he gets a shit ton of money that he can use to further orchestrate things. And again, it is pretty awesome just to see the Penguin kill 3 people with poisoned cannolis. That was pretty awesome. And I just love that scene where he shows up at Jim Gordon's apartment and he walks in, and you can tell that he's basically just got everything that he needs to really be the Penguin of legend. I mean, he's still refining things, but everything is pretty much in place. It's just a matter of building what's on there and refining it. And he's kind of also sort of stretching out to the other side. He already is a rising figure in the underworld, even if people don't realize it. Now he wants to have authority within have power within the Gotham PD. And Gordon is a guy who can help him. Well, maybe not get that, but basically, in a lot of ways, think of Gordon as kind of like a bazooka. Gordon is somebody that Penguin can point at his enemies and do some damage to them, maybe even take them out. Now, he has to be careful about this, but a gun with one bullet in it is still dangerous. Let's put it that way. Of course, Gordon is really not very keen to cooperate with this, given just how he absolutely flips the hell out and even threatens to kill Penguin for real. But Oswald has Gordon's number. You're a good man, and that is Gordon's blessing and his curse. Penguin even says, look, if you really believe all of that stuff that you're yelling now, go ahead, kill me right here. but you won't because you're a good person. So now Gordon is just caught in this net, and the only thing he can really do is just try and surf to the shore. Try and use his connections with Penguin to sort of bring some level of justice to Gotham, or at least keep things from completely and utterly going to hell. I mean, that's what he even says to Bruce at the end of this when everything's played out. Yeah, we didn't exactly win here, but things could have been a lot worse. But we'll talk more about Bruce in a bit. So, other than getting a really unpleasant visit from Cobblepot, the main thing going on with Gordon this episode, besides the investigation, is this whole situation with Barbara. Now, once again, folks, we do have to reiterate, this is not Barbara Gordon. This is Barbara Keene. This lady is not going to be Batgirl. So here he gets hit with the news that, yeah, Barbara had a thing going on with Renee Montoya in the past. And I am pleased that most people on Tumblr kind of get, and I don't know why I read the comments on the social media sometimes. It just really makes me want to strangle. But every once in a while, social media will pleasantly surprise you by people being surprisingly rational. But then again, I think this is one of those cases of where even a broken clock is right twice a day. But anyway, I think most people understood that Gordon didn't really care that Barbara was apparently bi. It was more that, hey, we're about to get married. This is probably something that you should have told me. So when he says you lied to me, it's not really... He said, hey, remember that time when I asked if you were bi or had ever been with a chick and you said no? Yeah. No, it's more like basically kind of a lie of omission. Now, I'm a believer in the idea that basically, as Adam Carolla once put it, in terms of relationships, less history, more mystery. However, that idea has limits, and if you're going to get married to someone, if there's something important in your past, or if there's an aspect of yourself that that maybe an important aspect of yourself that you haven't shared with them, then I think you kind of need to put that out there on the table so that they really understand who you are as a person. Because trying to maintain intimacy without honesty is not a great thing. And of course, the problem here is that as Barbara gets pissed at Gordon because he won't, give her the full details of what's going on. And the thing is, though, that Barbara's being a hypocrite here. She says, yeah, I was involved with Montoya, but she does kind of also leave out the whole apparently being addicted to drug things and the fact that she's smoking weed in their apartment. I guess Jim Gordon doesn't have a very good sense of smell, because if you think, you'd think a cop would realize if he came home and was like, hey, why does my apartment smell like weed? He would, ask the other person who lives with him, why does the apartment smell like weed? But, okay, let's assume that Barbara just buys a lot of Febreze, shall we say. So, yeah, I really do have to take Jim's side on this. Barbara is demanding things from him that she's demanding something from him that she is not willing to give him herself. Now, granted, you can also kind of make the case that Jim could just say, look, I don't want to tell you these things because I fear it could potentially put your life in danger. On the other hand, if someone tells you that, they're going to be like, wait, you know things that could potentially put my life in danger? You should tell me what these things are. On the other hand, he does explicitly say it's work stuff. So it's like criminal investigations of mobsters and crooked cops and dirty politicians. And yeah, that's kind of information that in a place like Gotham you do want to keep to yourself. Yeah, but I mean, this is like, look, Gordon can consider like, look, I can't tell you this because I'm worried if people think that you might know these things, that if I've told you these things, that they might hurt you. Well, again, I don't think Barbara's just going to let it go at that. And, frankly, if she did, I'd be a little disappointed in her as a character. But still, you can kind of understand where both people are coming from in this situation. But, if I have to pick a side here, I'm going to go with Jim on this one. Also, did I miss it in the early episodes? But what the hell is Barbara's job exactly? Because, demanding details of a police investigation from your cop boyfriend, yeah, it's like, seriously, what the hell? I'm pretty sure most cops' wives probably do hear some of the dirty details of the job, but I don't think most of them demand dirty details of the job as part of tell me this stuff or our relationship is over with. I mean, just seriously, Barbara, what the hell? Okay, so let's get ready. Let's briefly talk about what's going on with Bruce and Alfred since I brought them up. Okay, first of all, I gotta say, I love seeing Sean Pertwee in that in that green apron that he wears a lot of the time, simply because it's just like I just like, well, basically I just kind of like to pretend that Alfred stole that from a Starbucks for some reason, because I'm weird like that. But here we again see Bruce kind of burgeoning detective mode, and the whole thing of these people are trying to ruin my parents' dream and all this other stuff, which doesn't really sound like the way your average 12-year-old would talk. But well, again, this is a comic book show. We go for drama here, not realism, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. But again, we're sort of seeing Alfred sort of like, Bruce, what the hell? But also understanding that this really is something this kid needs to do. I can't just be like, you know what, Master Bruce, why don't we, I don't know, go to Disney World or something. Get out of Gotham to take your mind off of all of this. Because he knows that's not going to work. That, Alfred is very much somebody who's letting Bruce work through this in his own way, but making sure to kind of keep Bruce from going too far off the rails. Like, Bruce, stop hanging out on the roof, and Bruce, stop burning yourself. It really is a very interesting dynamic, and I really hope we can actually get an episode that just kind of focuses in on what's going on at Wayne Manor. Now, granted, the show is really basically kind of meant to have Jim Gordon as the main character, so maybe we won't see that, but I do hope we get more than just the usual Jim wanders over to Wayne Manor this episode and talks with Bruce. But anyway, this episode did have an important moment in it where Bruce says to Gordon, "Do you think Gotham is worth saving?" And Gordon says, "I think it's worth trying." And that's kind of one of the real things of the cruxes of Batman, is that Batman knows that Gotham can be an absolutely awful and terrible place, where no matter how many people he sends to jail, how many bad guys he stops, there's always more to take their place. But he also knows that if he doesn't go out there, then Gotham will just absolutely be consumed. That there will be complete and utter hopelessness. And when that happens, then Gotham really is just completely and utterly lost. As long as he's out there fighting, as long as he's out there trying, then there is still going to be a place for hope and a place for good people in Gotham. So anyway, speaking of the whole comic book reality of things, one thing that people have constantly been going on and on about is like, when is this supposed to be set? What year is this supposed to be? It's just like, you really don't understand a thing called atmosphere, do you? Okay, first of all, the people behind the show have basically said officially that Gotham is supposed to be set in the past. They are not saying a specific year. That's why they are saying that when you watch Gotham, you're supposed to get the sense that you are seeing the past. That's why you get things like you see people using typewriters and really boxy looking 90s computers at the police station. Jim Gordon's phone that he has at his desk is fairly modern looking, but the cars that people drive, this episode is a perfect example. If you pay attention, basically every single car you see in this episode looks like one from the 70s. And even the clothes people wear, there's something that at least to me kind of reads as a rather 90s look to the clothes people wear, like Selena Kyle. looks like somebody who would have fit in pretty well in the 90s. But again, the overall feel is meant to be the past. So moving on. Oh yeah, I don't really have anything to say about the assassin guy this episode. Best I can tell, he's not anybody from the comics. But the actor that played him did a really nice job. I think his name is Hakeem something or other. But anyway, points to him. He did a really nice job with the assassin guy, and I really like that bit at the end where he's like, "Yeah, I really did vote for you." I thought that was funny, and let's face it, nothing personal has gotten pretty darn cliche after all these years. But anyway, moving back to Fish Mooney. Well, there's the whole thing of what's going on with her, and she says, those girls that she's auditioning, I'm looking for a weapon. Well, I think what she's trying to do here is maybe cultivate a new mistress for Carmine Falcone who will be loyal to her. So that's kind of why she kind of goes between the girl who has the talent and the girl who has what ultimately proves to be the drive and ruthlessness to do whatever is necessary to get what she wants. Those are the kind of people that Fish can use. So I think that's what they might be planning to do with Liza. We also get to see some more of the mayor this episode. And I was actually surprised how much time they're spending with him. But again, a lot of the politics of what's going on in Gotham, those are a big part of the show, so it's not really a surprise. And also, I genuinely like the actor that they have for him. And I also really like that scene where the assassin guy burns the politician in the trash barrel at Arkham Asylum. I mean, it sort of feels like this dark and evil consecration marking the rise of Arkham as what's just basically going to be this absolute nightmare factory for the Batman universe of the future. Let me see. Anything else? No. Can't really think of anything else to add to that. So I guess that'll do it, guys. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, until next time, take care and have a good one.